A few hours later, at dawn, birds chirped outside the window. Ruby and Ellen were having breakfast, but Ruby was incredibly listless. She sighed inwardly, feeling exhausted. I can't swallow anything. Whatever I eat will just come back up. After what happened earlier, I feel nauseous and uncomfortable. Ruby silently pleaded, "Please, someone tell me it was all just a dream." While Ruby struggled with her breakfast, Ellen ate as if nothing had happened. After a while, Ellen glanced at Ruby and broke the silence. "Something like that won't happen again." Ruby was startled but relieved. Ellen continued, "I mean about you waking up cold." Ruby smiled sheepishly and replied, "Oh, thank you for your concern." Ellen added, "Also, you'll need to attend the banquet at the palace in 4 days. If you need anything until then, please let me know." Thanks to Ellen's reminder, Ruby remembered the banquet. Oh, right. The banquet. It wasn't just any banquet. It was an anniversary celebration for the king and queen's wedding, and it played a crucial role in her marriage. "Ooh, I almost forgot," Ruby said. "Actually, I need some help. Could you recommend a tailor?" Ellen, looking slightly confused, asked, "A tailor?" Ruby explained. "The clothes I brought are all popular styles from the South. They look too flashy for here. I've also heard that people wear lighter clothing during the summer in the North." Ellen nodded. "You're right. I should have prepared them for you. How embarrassing." "I'll call the tailor who usually makes my clothes." Ruby smiled gratefully at Ellen, thinking to herself, "That's only natural. Everyone is betting on when I'll be cast aside. Even the servants around here are blatantly whispering and gossiping. Anyway, on that day, what I need to do is act innocent and naive. I have to be very careful to make a good impression on everyone." As Ruby thought about it, she felt discouraged. Though, for the most important person, my husband, the first impression I made was the worst possible. He always looks at me with those scary eyes. All beginnings are hard, Ruby reminded herself. There's still a long way to go. The day was beautiful with warm sunshine. Ruby carried a basket of fresh fruit and thought, "I found the place. He probably won't hit me today, right?" She had decided to wear something casual but still beautiful, aiming to make a more approachable appearance. "The only reason I had to ask Ellen for help and come to this temple is to understand my husband's personality." Her ultimate goal was clear in her mind. I must not die at his hands. She felt like a rabbit fleeing from a ferocious grey wolf. Clenching her fists with determination, she thought, "If so, I must appear as harmless as possible. Even if I can't prevent Ellen's death, at least I can ensure my own survival." Speaking of Ellen being poisoned, Ruby's thoughts turned dark. It's because she's the fiancée of the Prince of Dorias. The relationship between the Pope and the Prince of Dorias is tense. The origin of the assassination attempt on the family is an open secret, so everyone will definitely suspect us. In that situation, it would be absurd for us to risk poisoning her. Even for a powerful family, it would be a foolish move, Ruby pondered as she walked. Still, even if I mentioned Ellen being poisoned beforehand, who would believe someone like me, some random Bora lady? There were spies from her father planted all over Arundel. I can't just speak carelessly. If I'm discovered, who knows what will happen to me? She shuddered at the thought. Soon, Ruby arrived at the knight's training ground. As she peeked in, a knight spotted her and tilted his head. "Who's there?" he called out. Ruby jumped at his voice. The newcomer was a blonde young man. He recognized her immediately. "Ah, isn't that Lady Ruby? Greetings." Ruby recognized him too. "He, Kay, one of the escorts from Elmoport yesterday." She nodded politely in response. "Oh, it's you. I apologize for my rudeness," Ruby said. Ivan waved his hand dismissively. "Of course you wouldn't know, but what brings you here?" Ruby blushed, hesitating. "Well, I heard my husband is here." Ivan turned his head in dismay, trying to hide his reaction. "Huh, why? She came looking for Isaac?" He chuckled and said, "That bastard." "Oh, wait, you came to see Isaac?" Ruby nodded. Ivan beamed at her. Then please wait here for a moment, madame. He turned away and called out loudly, Hey, Hayek, your wife is looking for you. Hey, didn't you hear me? Your wife is here. The others heard him too. Who? Wife? Lady Ruby? They murmured. Ivan, gesturing exaggeratedly, added, Hey, get lost. Do I need to teach you all a lesson? The hint of violence in his words widened Ruby's eyes. So he's someone whose words and face don't match, she thought. A moment later, Isaac appeared behind Ruby. What are you doing here? She turned around in surprise. Today, Isaac was only wearing simple training clothes. Ruby clutched the fruit basket awkwardly and stammered, Well, what made her so embarrassed was that the men in the courtyard were hiding and eavesdropping. Why are they all hiding back there making such a fuss, she thought, trying to muster her courage. This morning I was worried I had upset you, so I... Isaac snorted in annoyance, waving his hand dismissively. I'm fine. You see that I'm fine, so go back. Seeing him about to leave, Ruby quickly grabbed his sleeve. Wait, she blurted out. But in her haste, she didn't control her strength, knocking over the fruit basket in her hand. The contents spilled onto the ground between them. Ruby froze, inwardly screaming, No! My snacks! Ellen said they were precious. She hurriedly sat down and began picking up the scattered fruit. No, according to the 3C rule, it's still edible. Isaac's voice rang out. What are you doing? Ruby froze again, suppressing her rising frustration. Shouldn't I be the one asking that? Don't you have eyes? Ruby thought bitterly, but outwardly she obediently said, I'm sorry, I was going to bring these to you. Isaac crossed his arms and looked at her coldly. Who asked about that? I asked why you're picking up things that have fallen on the ground. Ruby almost threw the fruit at him. Then pick it up for me, fine, she thought, but instead, tears welled up in her eyes. She sobbed and wiped them away, saying, I'm sorry for bothering you. I came here to clear up the misunderstanding. Inwardly, Ruby praised herself. I could aim for the Best Actress Oscar, couldn't I? Isaac chuckled. What misunderstanding? She answered honestly. The misunderstanding that I'm already looking for an excuse to break off the engagement. Of course you'd think that. It's also obvious that you hate me. But... Isaac interrupted with a smile. Who said that? Who said I hate you? Ruby looked at him in surprise. I mean, it seems like you hate me. Isaac immediately denied it. No, I don't hate you. Her expression changed, her eyes filled with anticipation. Really? Ruby realized her tears might have backfired, so she quickly shifted her strategy. Her eyes sparkled with joy. Really? In her gaze, Isaac's image seemed to glitter, full of hope. This time, Isaac didn't answer, and the air grew thick with tension. Ruby worried inwardly. Did I overdo it with the tears? Isaac rubbed his head in frustration. Damn it, what am I doing? Seeing his conflicted expression, Ruby cheered inwardly. So that's how it is. But on the surface, she continued to feign sadness and softly apologized. I was determined to risk it all, and to get this reaction is such a relief. Unexpectedly, Isaac sat down and began helping her pick up the fruit. He handed them to her, saying, I don't need this. Don't do such pointless things again. Ruby stared at him, startled, but Isaac continued. I'll say this beforehand so you don't misunderstand. Even if this charade ends today, I don't care. But I can't stand watching someone act so foolishly, so stop trying to play games with me. Did you write me a letter telling me to come home quickly? Isaac asked, turning around and leaving before Ruby could respond. Ruby blinked, wondering. So my husband didn't even notice this pitiful act. What's going on? It seemed he wasn't the type to give in just because someone cried. Still, Ruby thought she had glimpsed a loophole. Whether we're arguing, or he's playing mind games with me, he still sees me as a child. If it's obvious and trivial, he probably won't feel suspicious. With sudden resolve, Ruby stood up abruptly. But I don't want it to be like that. Isaac stopped. and Ruby knew this was her chance to land a critical hit. She blurted out loudly, "I've fallen in love with you." Her confession echoed through the hallway. The siblings hiding nearby, eavesdropping, were stunned. Ruby praised herself inwardly. "My acting skills are truly commendable." Isaac slowly turned back around, his eyes now flashing with a murderous glint. "What?" Ruby stammered, desperately trying to keep up her facade. I know you must hear this kind of confession often, and I know there's no way you'd like me." She silently cursed the devil in front of her. "Please relax your eyes a bit. But you were the first person to save me from danger, like yesterday. I don't expect anything, so can't you just let me help you, even with small things? You said you didn't hate me." "That's right. I'm a fangirl. Well, more like an anti-fan," she thought, giving herself a mental thumbs up. "But if he sees me as something obvious and trivial, I still have hope." The siblings in the training ground, witnessing the whole scene, applauded and whistled. "So brave," someone exclaimed. Ruby took a deep breath, gathering more courage. She stealthily peeked through her fingers, only to realize Isaac had already reached the door. "When did he get all the way over there?" she thought, startled. "He's 180 meters away from me." Refusing to be defeated, Ruby shouted after him, "I definitely won't bother you. I'm serious." The witnesses to her bold confession cheered again, their jealousy evident in their voices. In response, Isaac slammed the door in Ruby's face. "That cold-hearted man again," Ruby sighed. "Still, I should let it go for today. I'll deal with him another time." A few days later, Ruby sat quietly as a maid gently styled her hair. "Madam, it's done," the maid said, stepping back. With her makeup and hair complete, Ruby looked surprisingly radiant. Finally, the day has come, she thought, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "I haven't seen Isaac since that day," Ruby mused, recalling Ellen's explanation that the Knights had been busy with preparations for the banquet and summer. Thinking about it makes me sad. A moment later, she went downstairs. Ellen had also changed into a dazzling evening gown, exuding elegance and grace. "Ruby, you're all ready for the banquet, right?" Ellen asked, her beauty mesmerizing Ruby. "I can't believe a goddess like this almost married that idiot Enzo," Ruby thought. "Even if the sky split in two, that shouldn't be possible." Still, Ruby was touched that Ellen called her by her nickname, as promised. Ruby nodded and then noticed someone standing beside Ellen. "Right. Who is this?" she asked, curious. Ellen introduced the woman with a smile. "Say hello, this is a long-time friend of our family, Freya van Fuana." Fuana winked at Ruby. "Hello, Miss Ruby. It's a pleasure to meet you." The sky suddenly seemed to darken in Ruby's mind. There she is. The childhood friend, Ruby thought, recalling the servants' whispers filled with admiration for her. "She's treated so differently from me." Still, Ruby smiled politely and responded, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Fuana." To Ruby's surprise, Fuana's eyes held something less friendly than her outward demeanour. Fuana turned to Ellen, teasing, "You didn't tell me she was so adorable." Ellen immediately denied it. "You must have misunderstood. I didn't say anything strange." Fuana turned back to Ruby, still smiling, but Ruby couldn't help but tilt her head in confusion. "Is there something wrong with my dress?" Ellen interrupted the moment, sighing in exasperation. "Really, Ruby, I don't know if my brother will be late, but please bear with him. It happens often." "Bear with him? I won't do that. I don't expect anything from him anyway," Ruby thought inwardly, smiling on the outside as she waved her hand at Ellen. "I see, but I'm fine. Don't worry, Ellen. Anyway, I still hope he's late today." "Oh, my fate. How long do I have to keep up this act?" Ruby thought, as the carriage rattled its way to Anban Palace. The banquet attendees had already arrived, and many acquaintances came to greet Ellen. Ruby stood alone in a corner, observing the scene. "I don't know why, but I'm reminded of the banquet in Romania," she mused. Back then, people showed me kindness, or at least respect, because of Julia, my father's official wife, and my connection to him and my brother. No matter what was happening behind the scenes, I was always the object of envy and admiration. She wondered. If the tragic reality of my past life were revealed, what would everyone think of me? How would they trample on me? It's ironic that I used to fear that the most, but now, standing between these model-like people makes me feel like a child. Am I still the shortest one here? Suddenly, someone approached Ruby. "Hello, Lady Ruby," they greeted her. A group of people nearby began to murmur, "Oh my, those are the Omnites. I wonder if His Holiness is well. When will Cardinal Valentino visit?" Ruby had to be extremely patient. "Honestly, I don't know either," she thought, exasperated by the familiar questioning. Ellen muttered beside her, "Those people are really—" Ruby blinked, thinking she had misheard. Did Ellen just say that? Beside her, Fuana brightly called out to Isaac. Ruby's fiancé easily heard their calls and turned to look. Ruby awkwardly raised her hand in greeting. "What's with him? He said he'd be late. Did he lie just because he hates seeing me?" Upon seeing Ruby, Isaac turned his back without responding. "I knew it would be like this." Fuana was indignant on Ruby's behalf. "Madam, would you like us to go over there and scold him?" she offered. But Ellen, knowing her brother's personality too well, shook her head. "He'll just ignore it. What's the point?" Ruby clenched her fists and walked directly toward him. "The fact that I've been mistreated since the first night and now Isaac is ignoring me has spread everywhere." Her steps were incredibly resolute. "No matter what I do here, I'm the one who loses face, so I'll cling to him and not give up." She stopped right in front of Isaac. Fuana and Ellen watched with wide eyes, and even Ivan and the knights were taken aback by Ruby's boldness. Taking a deep breath to summon her courage, Ruby flashed a bright smile and said to Isaac, "I'm so glad to see you again. You look very handsome today." This bold action caused a flurry of murmurs from the surrounding nobles, but Ruby ignored them all, maintaining her cheerful smile. What did they expect me to caress his cheek? Even if I'm desperate, I'm not that lacking in fans. Isaac didn't seem pleased. He coldly turned away, saying, "Madam, you are both insensitive and tactless." Ruby bowed her head in embarrassment. "I'm sorry for interrupting like this, but if I didn't—" Isaac abruptly cut her off. "You clearly said you wouldn't be a nuisance." Ruby gasped and covered her mouth dramatically. "Oh my goodness, you remember? You were listening to me?" Her exaggerated reaction caught him off guard. "What?" he muttered, surprised. Ruby brightened considerably. "Thank you, but rest assured I absolutely won't be a nuisance to you anymore. I'll just quietly observe you." With that, she waved goodbye. "Is that enough? I need to escape quickly." But before she could leave, Isaac grabbed her shoulder and pulled her back. He leaned in, his voice tense, and asked, "Say that again. What do you mean by quietly?" Ruby, startled, replied, "I said I'll quietly follow you, like trailing you without you knowing." Isaac growled, "Do you want to die?" Shaking her head fearfully, she stammered, "No, that's not it. What's going on? Did I step on a landmine?" She could feel the pressure of his grip tightening on her shoulder, his strength unconsciously overpowering her. "Then why did you do that?" he demanded, still angry. This time, Ruby didn't have to act to shed tears. It hurt. "I said it hurts," she whimpered, trying to explain. "I just wanted to watch you. Because I don't want to be a nuisance, that's all." Does he know I was planning to assassinate him? She wondered in distress. Isaac's expression remained hard, but he sighed, his frustration evident. "That's clearly an assassination attempt," he muttered. Just then, Ian appeared beside them, speaking up on Isaac's behalf. "Miss Ruby, that's quite a dangerous act." Ruby blinked in confusion. "What do you mean?" Ian elaborated. "He's not foolish enough to mistake his own wife for an assassin. But the North is an extremely dangerous place. Our physique is different from other knights. When we pursue demonic energy or creatures, we have to maximize our divine power and sword aura. If you were nearby, we wouldn't be able to distinguish you from a demonic creature. You could lose your life. Ruby's eyes widened in realization. So that's why, she thought. When the holy knights maximize their sword aura and divinity, it puts them in a state of extreme excitement. That explained Isaac's behavior. That's quite something. But I didn't want to follow him to an unsafe place, Ruby said dejectedly. I almost caused trouble. I'm sorry. I'm from the south, so I didn't know. Ian stammered, quickly reassuring her. Don't say that. It's natural not to know, isn't it? Because she spoke without thinking, Ian decided to let it slide. That bastard, Isaac. Ruby thought to herself. She promised. Don't worry, I absolutely won't make things difficult for you. Ellen, always the practical one, instructed her brother. You have to let us know when there's a change in your schedule. Fwana chimed in. That's right. You could drop by our place too. Don't you appreciate it when we beauties wait for you? Isaac had remained silent until now, and Ruby felt a flicker of annoyance. What's with this atmosphere, you stingy man? Stop it. However, Isaac's reaction this time was interesting. She thought he would just scoff and leave like last time. Isaac had just opened his mouth to say something when a servant interrupted, announcing the arrival of His Majesty the King. Trumpet sounds filled the hall as the Emperor slowly entered with his consort. Ruby set aside the matter and turned to greet them. The Emperor approached Ruby first. Miss Ruby, he said warmly. She curtsied politely. Your Majesty, she greeted. The Emperor expressed his gratitude. Thank you for coming all this way. Ruby humbly replied, I should be the one thanking your Majesty. The Emperor, clearly satisfied with her response, laughed heartily before addressing Isaac. This brat rarely attends my banquets. Indeed, he's more well-behaved after getting married, isn't that right, Sir Isaac? Isaac fearlessly retorted, Doesn't the apple fall far from the tree? The Emperor's smile vanished. You just had to say it out loud, didn't you? Isaac quipped back, Whose fault is it for harbouring secrets? Just accept your fate. But he didn't forget to throw a cold glare at Ruby, who stood beside him unbothered. Then he turned his back to her again. Ruby shrugged. There he goes again. His grumpy personality really suits him. The young ladies nearby giggled and whispered amongst themselves. This was exactly what Ruby wanted. Yes, mock me all you want. I'm the fool who smirks even when abandoned by her husband. The Emperor angrily pointed at Isaac. If he weren't Isis's son, he'd be dead for sure. The consort chuckled softly, soothing the Emperor. Calm down, Your Majesty, you'll frighten the lady. Just then, Ruby noticed a little girl fidgeting behind the consort. The adorable child blinked up at her, and the consort, noticing her gaze, gently pushed the little girl forward. Princess, staring like that is rude. You must greet her properly. The little girl brightly and obediently greeted Ruby. Welcome to Angan Palace, Miss Ruby. Ruby immediately smiled kindly at the child. Thank you, Princess Arian, she said, her heart melting at the cuteness. So adorable. Such a rare, healing feeling in this world. After the greeting, the little girl shyly hid behind her mother. Ruby, seeing this, understood. I know why the princess's presence felt incomplete in the original story. She's too timid. The consort, once a slave from the east, was deeply loved by King Fenol, as was Princess Arian. However, the king couldn't give his child, who bore the distinct characteristics of a heretic, the same status as the other princesses. Moreover, Arian had Isaac as her cousin. Therefore, within the nobility, Arian would forever be considered an outsider. Whether in this world or the other, she would always feel like an outcast. Ruby didn't exactly empathize with Arian, but she couldn't help but notice the fear in her eyes. A while later, everyone sat down at the banquet table. Only Fwana arrived late. Ellen, curious, asked her where she had been. Ruby glanced over as well. Funa sat down, nonchalantly saying, "It's nothing. I was going to bring Isaac here, but my words were like the wind. I don't know where he ordered the knights to rest." Ellen crossed her arms and shook her head. "Playing pointless games. It's not like he ever pretends to listen to us." Fuana rested her chin on her hand, agreeing. "That's true." Then she turned to Ruby and asked, "Madam, do you enjoy horseback riding?" Ruby smiled, replying, "I'm not good at it, but I like it very much." Fuana smiled mysteriously. "Don't worry, just liking it is enough." Ruby, however, screamed internally, "I don't like it. I was lying. In my past life I may have learned aristocratic sports, but I don't have any fond memories of them." Just then a young lady sitting at the same table spoke up. "It's hard to match the skills of the two of you. Of course, since Sir Isaac personally helped you, madam, you should ask your husband for help too, shouldn't you?" Furia calmly responded, "That was when we were little, Miss Consolation. Besides, I'm also naturally talented." Consolation covered her mouth and laughed. "Of course you are. Please, don't misunderstand Miss Furia." Ruby noticed the glint of amusement in Furia's eyes. "My relationship with her is also interesting, but I don't care. I just need to act like a harmless fool." Ruby scratched her head. "Thank you for your concern, but I can't waste a busy person's time with such trivial matters." Consolation chuckled, and the others looked at her with wary eyes before changing the subject. "Summer is almost over. Is Sir Isaac participating in the swordsmanship tournament this year?" one of them asked. "It seems like it'll be held earlier than last time. It's certainly something to look forward to, but Sir Isaac is sure to win if he participates." Everyone chatted excitedly at the banquet table. "I wonder what it'll be like this year. I'm more curious about who will become the flower of glory." Ruby sat to the side, clenching her fists. "I'm sure at this year's swordsmanship tournament, Chaser will visit. The swordsmanship tournament, held every 3 years in Andol, is a proud event, with the largest scale and longest history on the continent. Participants and visitors from each country attend for a deadly battle with demonic creatures trained to be ferocious. In this gruesome competition, only those of noble birth are allowed to participate. A council of priests, all of them outstanding, is established to prevent any potential incidents. Chaser will come here under the pretense of participating in the council, but in reality, it's to see me." Ruby clutched her head in agony. "Damn it. My husband alone is already beyond my endurance." A while later, Ruby appeared in the hallway. She rubbed her forehead tiredly, supporting herself against the wall as she walked. "Drinking on an empty stomach makes me so dizzy." But there were too many people here, so Ruby couldn't bring herself to throw up. Just then, a man appeared in front of her. Because she wasn't looking where she was going, their shoulders bumped into each other. Ruby clutched her shoulder and nodded an apology. She glanced up at the other person. "Oh dear, bumping into his shoulder is such a misfortune." He asked, "Are you all right?" Ruby shook her head. "I'm fine, but who are you?" The young man smiled and introduced himself. "I am Lorenzo van Fuena, the one who was just with my sister." Ruby recognized him immediately. "They really are twins. No wonder they look so alike." Lorenzo asked again, "Are you truly all right? Shall I escort you back to the banquet?" She shook her head in refusal. "I'm really fine. I was just about to go out for some fresh air. You seem to be a holy knight." Ruby sensed something was off. Why is he looking at me like that, with such unfriendly eyes? He continued, playing the part of a concerned person. If Sir Isaac heard that, he'd laugh. "I'm just a successor." His words gave Ruby a chilling feeling. If he tries anything funny, I might lose my life here. Isaac isn't even this bad. He shows the most blatant disgust of everyone I've met. When did he learn about me? Lorenzo scratched his head bashfully. "Oh, I apologize. I still can't believe I'm meeting you in person, madam." Ruby chuckled. "Yes, I heard I'm quite famous around here." "Suddenly," he said. "Who wouldn't know of your existence, madam? You're the daughter of His Holiness, after all." Ruby felt like his words were mocking her, but she still played innocent and replied, "Is that so? I thought only my brothers were famous. I didn't know I was too. That's a surprise." The two of them continued their exchange, feigning friendliness. Lorenzo then spoke again. "Actually, among the recently popular songs, there's one about you, madam." Ruby feigned surprise. "Oh, he suggested. "You seem surprised. Would you like to hear it?" Ruby played along. "I'm curious. I'll leave it to you." Then Lorenzo cleared his throat and began to sing. It went something like this. 'Cause Angel said she couldn't find a girl to her liking. I think her brother isn't of the same blood as that girl. He'll say it's fine. While humming the lyrics about the angel, a hand appeared, and Ivan pinched Lorenzo's ear hard. "This crazy idiot, I told you not to mess around," Ivan scolded. Lorenzo could do nothing but beg for mercy. "Wait a minute," Ivan angrily ordered. "Apologize before I rip your mouth apart." Lorenzo stammered hesitantly, but before he could finish, Ivan snapped. "What? Where did you learn to talk back to your seniors like that?" Lorenzo cried out. "Oh, I'm sorry." Ivan yelled angrily. "Say it louder, or I'll make your mouth bigger." Ruby quickly intervened. "I'm fine. Let him go." She understood that she didn't need this apology. At her words, Ivan released his grip, and Lorenzo immediately ran away. Ivan clicked his tongue and shook his head. "That bastard," he muttered. Ruby also cursed inwardly. That sly fox. After Lorenzo left, Ivan turned to apologize to her. "I apologize for letting you see such a messy scene." Ruby smiled and said, "It's all right." He still felt the need to explain clearly to her. "Please, don't misunderstand. That strange kid is always delusional. That's why he acts like that. No one would sing such a disrespectful song." Ruby thought for a moment and then spoke. "Sir Ivan, I'm really fine. It's not the first time I've heard that rumour." Despite saying she was fine, her tears flowed freely, startling Ivan. "Oh, madame," Ivan exclaimed. Ruby wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry. I'm just worried my husband will believe that rumour." Ivan frantically waved his hands. "Impossible. That brat never pays attention to what others say, and he won't forgive anyone who bothers him. That's why I was a bit surprised just now. I didn't mean to imply that you were being a nuisance, madam." Hearing him say that, Ruby stopped crying. "Really? So Sir Isaac doesn't hate me?" Ian immediately affirmed. "Absolutely not. Who is that brat to hate you, madam? He's just a little bewildered because it's his first time." Ruby asked Ian expectantly, "So I can freely like him too?" Ian immediately supported her. "Madame, go for it. Of course, it's an incomparable honour that you do." After saying that, Ian suddenly came to his senses. He hesitated and then asked, "So, shall I escort you back to the banquet?" But Ruby declined. "It's okay. I was planning to go out for some fresh air." Ivan didn't try to persuade her further. "I understand. If that brat shows up again, you must tell me." Ruby smiled and replied, "Thank you, Sir Ivan." She wondered, could it be that he's worried about me? It's good that he's still Elle. Then Ivan and Ruby bid each other farewell and parted ways. Ivan's words weren't very convincing. If what he said about Isaac is true, then I still have a little hope, Ruby told herself. At this rate, I might have a chance to win. Ruby walked slowly, deep in thought. Still, what was Fu Anna's brother delusional about? He couldn't be that hostile just because of rumours about her. Could it be related to Freya? Ruby reached the flower garden and suddenly saw Princess Aaron rustling behind a statue. She leaned over and called the princess's name. Startled, the princess turned to look at her and said in a trembling voice, "Please, don't tell my mother." Seeing this, Ruby guessed she must have sneaked out. A mischievous little girl, Ruby smiled and asked, "I won't tell. What are you doing?" Aaron looked at her fearfully, not daring to answer. The princess eyed her with suspicion. Ruby forced a smile, thinking, the princess is so cautious. She slowly approached the girl, thinking, yes, I'll go another way so as not to disturb the princess. Aaron hesitated for a moment and then said, "You shouldn't be here alone." Ruby asked in surprise. "Why?" Aaron replied, "I heard that two people have to be together for love to come true." Ruby stood frozen, her face helpless as she imagined. "There's a pond like that in the palace. There are such romantics here. No wonder the king—" Ruby wondered. "Love will come true?" Aaron replied. "The nanny said there's a god who makes love come true, living under the lake." Ruby shyly thought, believing in that fairy tale. How adorable. She bent down and asked, "Is that a bouquet?" Aaron nodded gently. The princess thought for a moment and then said, "Beautiful." Ruby smiled and asked, "For whom?" Aaron's eyes lit up as she saw Ruby's hair sparkling. "If you let me touch your hair, I'll give it to you, madam." Ruby held her hair and smiled, thinking, she must think my hair is like a toy. That's how it is at this age. She pointed her hair toward the girl and said, "Touch it all you want." Aaron replied awkwardly, "Not now, later." Ruby replied, "Yes, any time." Suddenly, Isaac appeared from behind, calling Ruby's name, making her jump. Isaac's handsome face slowly emerged in the dim moonlight. Ruby froze in fear, thinking, why does he always appear behind me? But then Aaron's hand suddenly grabbed her dress. Ruby glanced down and saw the princess hiding behind her, trembling with fear. She wondered what was happening. Isaac walked toward her and said, "His Majesty is looking for you. I told you not to walk alone." Aaron shoved the flowers into Ruby's hand and quickly ran past Isaac, causing Ruby to call out to her in panic. Eric glanced over and said, "Neither of you listens." Ruby looked at him, annoyed, thinking, "You're one to talk." She suddenly remembered something and asked, "Were you looking for the princess?" Isaac walked forward and replied, "No way, I was looking for you." Those words left Ruby speechless in surprise. From surprise, her emotions shifted to fear. "What? Me?" she thought, "when you were the one who left first?" Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Why?" Ruby saw Isaac approaching faster and faster. Fearfully, she thought, "Wait, please don't come any closer. Are you going to interrogate me because you couldn't find me?" She closed her eyes tightly, thinking, "All right, I'll just save him later."